This is the workplace where you don't have to do anything to get paid and you never get sacked. It's a job for life, but it's not even a job as such. It's been called the best club in London, even the Elysian Fields by Dewberry. You'll have guessed by now, I'm speaking of the red benches in the other place, the House of Lords. It's emerged that last year, expenses plus the daily attendance allowance cost £23 million. The day rate for merely signing on is £323. In 2017, members agreed to cap the size of the Lords to a maximum of 600. Yet the forthcoming dissolution honours are expected to bloat the second chamber to 834 bewigged and ermined members, not all of whom make a substantial contribution to the work of Parliament. The government has promised reform, even the Lords have voted to reform. I think members should serve a 5-year term. Their contributions should be assessed and there should be a mandatory retirement age. They should be titled, but not entitled.
Well, before I respond, I want to make a very serious announcement that I love the sound of the House of Lords. So if anyone influential is watching, I want to be in there.
Lady Michelle of Hull.
Yes.
Arise, Baroness Dewberry.
Yes. Don't overlook me, whoever's watching. But no, that aside, I mean, who wouldn't want to be in there at that rate? But I actually think that the House of Lords is quite a jerk, actually. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. So first of all, I agree with the necessity of a second chamber, just to kind of sanity check.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, so yeah. I think that we need to have something. I think what we have in its current form has just gone out of control. I think it needs to be slimmed down. I don't think there should be any hereditary peers at all. I think they should be fixed term. I think that there should be a cap in terms of the amount of expenses or day rates or whatever you want to call it that you can actually claim. And I think that there needs to be some form of, to your point, cross-reference to how effective are you being in this role, because I can't think of any other job where I could just literally scan my pass, collect my 300 and odd quid and then just sit there watching something on my phone or, you know, ticking boxes or whatever I do and then leave again and I've got my money. There has to be some check that what you're doing is adding value, and that for me is a little bit that's missing. So I agree with you. I would like the House of Lords to exist, but in a very different format.
Apparently, peers who made no contribution at all last year picked up in expenses over £1 million.
But that's just a jerk, isn't it?
Let's see what the House of Lords themselves say. The increase in the cost of House of Lords allowances in 2018-19 financial year is largely due to a 25% increase in the number of days the House sat, rising from 129 in 2017-18 to 161 in 2018-19. As members of the Lords can generally only claim allowances for days they attend the House, any increase in sitting days is likely to produce an increase in the cost of members' allowances. That's the House of Lords. That's down to Brexit, of course. It's another reason that they've sat for so much time. I think it's an absolute slam-dunk, no-brainer, whatever you want to say. But how are they going to get there for the start of their 5 years? Who's going to appoint them for that? That's what you haven't explained yet. So they do a 5-year term. Do they still get in by sort of grace and favour and being very helpful to one Prime Minister, or, let's be honest, making sizable donations? How are they going to get there in the first place? And will we have hereditary?
No, I mean, the problem is that the hereditaries, when asked, always vote to keep the hereditary. So the turkeys aren't voting for Christmas at all. I'm not sure how you achieve a 5-year term. Maybe what you have to do
this is the thing.
Is you have to, you know, the Lords themselves are recognised there's a problem. Can we just hear from the Lib Dem peer, Lord Tyler, who's given an even more disparaging set of remarks about the House of Lords. And what he says is it's the best daycare centre for the elderly in London. Families can drop his lord or ladyship off and make sure that staff will look after them really well. They're a nice meal subsidised by the taxpayer, and they can have a snooze in the afternoon in the chamber or in the library. That's a Lord... You know, Lord Tyler himself is saying that. But I see it's complicated, but it's the second biggest chamber in the world, and it's partly hereditary, and it's overstuffed, and it's also the average age is 70, so obviously something has to be done. But what, Rachel?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think only China has a bigger second chamber. France, Spain, India, with a population of over 1 billion people, has a smaller chamber. So I think that an elected second chamber is the solution, and I think a few reasons for that. One, make it smaller straight away. Two, that kind of accountability, Michelle, that you're talking about. And three, just to widen it out so it's not based on, you know, cronyism and patronage, so that people who actually come from a diversity of the country, as well as a diversity of skills and experience, and bring different things to the table. If it were on the basis of being elected, then that would bring in different people. Might even get you in, Michelle.
Okay. Okay, somebody's got to do this, and I know what's going to happen. The tweets will start flying. Oh yeah, he wants a seat. Look, there has to be.
Are you already entitled? And
I am not. I may be entitled, but I'm not. I don't have a title. Look, there is a defence. First of all, they do say they do some work. They do. They make quite a lot of changes to legislation. In 2019, they made 2,513 changes, 8,000 odd written questions, 153 reports produced by committees. Now, in my company, activity doesn't necessarily mean impact. So I take all of that with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But the truth is, there are people in the House of Lords who bring something that you wouldn't necessarily get in an elected chamber. I'm just thinking, for example, of the Astronomer Royal, Lord Rees, who is, full disclosure, is a friend. He is brain big as the size of a planet, one of the cleverest people, and his contribution to debates are ones that, frankly, are brilliant, and everybody listens to him the minute he stands up. I think the elected House won't bring you that. If I were to criticise what you said, Rachel, it would be, I think, probably not radical enough. If I were thinking about this, the first thing I'd do is get rid of all of the ex-MPs who are just there because they were basically because they just
loyal.
They're loyal and so on. And I would make more space for people who bring some actual expertise.
Good point.
For example, in the House of Lords, there are relatively few. There are no scientists worth speaking of in the House of Commons. There are hardly any scientists and engineers in the, relatively speaking again, in the upper house. But we're in a world where we need to know. And I think that's what I would focus on, bringing more expertise.
How do you do that, though?
Yeah, you mentioned Lord Rees, but I mean, as far as I met him, and I think he is over 80. So how would you deal with the retirement issue then?
Well, you're right. There's one in 6 members of the House of Lords. 133 of them are over the age of 81. You'd think you'd let them go. But I think what you could do is you could say this is the official retirement age, but the House might have a procedure by which somebody who it thinks is particularly valuable can stay.
Right, I'm going to end as I started. No subtle hints here. I meant what I said at the beginning. Definitely want to be in there. So if anyone's watching, they can get me in. Please do.
Lady Dubes.
Yes,
I love it.
Great ring to it. Now, there is never a shortage of people spouting hot air on Twitter. But this week saw a row brewing over something that usually brings solidarity to the public. Nothing gets us Brits hot under the collar like our love for a good cuppa. But it all went to pot when newly appointed Chancellor Rishi Sunak dunked Yorkshire tea into hot water this week. Demonstrating that he's truly a mug of the people, Rishi tweeted, "Quick budget prep break, making tea for the team. Nothing like a good Yorkshire brew." But Rishi's tea of choice from God's own country caused a storm in a teacup as people jumped on the wagon wheel and assumed Yorkshire tea were in on the publicity stunt. But their Twitter team had the response in the bag, explaining it's been a rough weekend. It's been pretty shocking to see the determination some of us have had to drag us into a political mud fight. But it's been lovely to see others speak up for us. We're so grateful to everyone who's done that in a civil way. But for anyone about to vent their rage online, even to a company, please remember there's a human on the other end of it and try to be kind. So for reminding us it's not always worth reaching boiling point, Yorkshire tea. We hope everyone will take a leaf out of your book. Cheers.
There was actually a nice bit of solidarity on Twitter between...
Solidarity? You
see
see
what I did there?
Okay.
All I just want to say
Yorkshire tea and PGK.
You know what? Sugar? I thought it was a particularly cosy picture.
I like it.
I think it's time for us all to leave.
Before the puns get worse.
Right, that's it from us for this week. But don't forget, you can join in the debate by searching for The Pledge on Twitter or on the Sky News Facebook page. And if you want to listen to the programme on the go, just search for us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Sky News, anything quite frankly. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.